When writing a story, you have technique and you have creativity. And creativity as an example. So I have a story where they build a time machine, but it is just too dangerous to send a human or any living creature back in time. It's just invites too much disaster. And they can only send one thing back, so finally they decide to send back a book, and then they need to find a way to have a book so perfectly written. The change of one single word could prove miraculous or devastating when they send this book back. So the whole story would be about what they go about to have this perfect book written to send back to the past. This is an example. I'm never going to write that story, so if anyone wants to run with it, please do. But this is an example of creativity. So you have your creative ideas. You're living in the world, and you're curious about the world you live in, and this generates all these creative story ideas. That's creativity. Then there's technique. Technique is how do you make your story compelling? You can have the greatest creative ideas, and the compelling side of the story should be looked at. So the technique I want to talk about today is one way to make your story compelling is to make your main character or your protagonist compelling. The protagonist is usually what you think of it as the hero or the character that your reader thinks it kind of puts themselves in the shoes of that character. And one of the greatest ways to make your story captivate your audience is to put a lot of focus on making your main character, making your reader feel attached to that main character somehow. And I'll give you a lot of ways that you can go about doing that. Now, I know when I first started writing stories, I thought to make a character likable would be to pile on a bunch of likable traits and things, likable things that character did and likable abilities that character had. And that, after time, I realized that wasn't doing it. So when a character is likable in fiction, they are not likable for the same reasons that a person is likable in real life. In real life, we like other people that we see things in them that we would like to become, and there are a number of other reasons why we like real people. But in fiction, a great example is the hero and the anti-hero. The anti-hero is a great example of how you can have a character who you really don't like. You think that they make, terrible decisions. They don't show that they care about the people in there. Just a number of, they could be serial killers, and if you met that character in real life, you would probably find them totally not likable. But the anti-hero, the thing is that we're liking that main character for different reasons. That is we're feeling we care about what happens to them in the story. You want to make sure the main character loves something, even if it's just themselves. You want to show the main character as passionate about something, as curious about something, as like a scientist interested in investigating something that they, and it could be benevolent or malevolent. They could be passionate about explosives, or they could be passionate about improving, the state of society in a certain country. It as long as they care deeply about something, and if you really make that a strong point in their character, that's a great way to make them much more compelling. Please also remember, these are techniques. You know, you are creative and you come up with a story, and then you can use techniques to enhance the story. These are not rules, these are not must-do. These are things that have been found to work that you can, you know, go ahead and use to get working in your original story if you so choose. Now, one technique that works really well is to let the reader or viewer see a private weakness of the main character. Not necessarily a public weakness. It works much better if it's a private weakness. So if you give the reader a chance to see that main character when they're alone and show that they have a weak spot, that they have a weak point, and it doesn't have to do anything with the plot. You know, if their weakness is that they dissolve in water, that doesn't mean that one of their adversaries is going to dissolve them in water later in the story. What you're doing is it's human nature that when you see a character, a private moment in their life, when they're showing their weak side, in a way it's sort of like you get a chance to get a glimpse into them, to see what they're really about, to see what they're really made of. And that makes the viewer feel more attached to the main character. By feeling more attached, they're going to feel the pull and shove of whatever that main character is going through in the story. And also, when I talk about a private weakness, it does not necessarily mean that it makes them a weaker individual. It could be a point of vulnerability. So say that you know, and this is actually almost cliche, where they go to visit their sick mother in the hospital when they're out of the lives of the rest of the characters in the story. If they, on a private visit all by themselves, they go to visit their sick mother, that is showing a private weakness. And if I think about it, I could probably name a few stories that has that exact thing happen. I don't want to mislead you. I'm not making fun of the idea of having in the story that a character goes to visit their sick mother in the hospital. It's a cliche. It's almost a cliche. The reason that we have cliches is that they work so well that they become overused. So if we go to cliches with an open mind, we can figure out why they work so well, and then we can come up with creative new scenarios that are totally unlike the cliche scenarios, except they work just as well for the same reasons that the overused scenarios do. My all-time favorite anti-hero novel is Günter Grass's The Tin Drum. And so let's look about what does the main character really care about. He cares about that damn tin drum. He takes it with him everywhere. It's always a part of his life. He's very passionate about being really good at playing a toy tin drum, and it works really well in the story. What is his private weakness? He has a very public weakness. It's that he's a Lilliputian, so he isn't taken seriously. He's a little person and has to go through life with that social reality. His private weakness is that he's actually an intelligent adult mind trapped in the body of someone who is not treated seriously. And so we as the reader, as the viewer, have the inside scoop. We have that direct experience of the private weakness, and that pulls us right in and makes us to feel connected to everything that character is going through. And also, I'm not saying that piling on the virtues and in the main character doesn't work. It does work. And if you have a character that has a great talent or a great virtue or a hidden ability, that is also can work very well. Here's a subtler technique and very effective. Show the reader that the main character is doing their best. Again, even if this is an anti-hero, even if this is like someone who's trying to rob a retirement home of you still need to show that somehow that character is doing their best. And I don't mean just doing their best at what they're doing in particular, but even if they're taking away from the well-being of other people, and that sort of thing, you need to kind of take it back to, really contemplate the idea that everyone is doing their best. That if you became exactly another individual, you would understand clearly exactly why they everything they do, everything they say, all of their plans is what they see is the best for the place that they're in. Whether or not you agree with them from the outside. Now, I mean, the problem I have with bringing this up as a technique is that volumes could be filled on this whole thing. As an example, you could have a character with a gambling compulsion, and they know that it's wrong, and they know that they're not doing their best, but they're doing their best to wrestle with this part of themselves. It's a compulsion, and they are doing what they can to help it and control it as much as a human being is very complicated, and sometimes it could seem like we're many people all wrapped up into one, fighting with ourselves inside. And I could go on and on and on. So I'm just going to put it out there, and if it gets you thinking about things, that's great. Okay, the final technique that I'm going to present today is that the main character should be at least twice as real to the reader than all the other characters. So all the character sketch drafting that you do, all the writing of the histories and what the childhood of the character was like, what type of family they come from. For the main character, you want the character sketches and your understanding of that character to be so much more than the other characters. And the effect that this has is that it makes the main character feel more real to the reader. So that, and you don't have to get all that character. You can write a character sketch and then not have any of it obviously show up in the story, but it does influence the story. If by doing character sketches and character histories outside of the story, when we go to write the story, it has a great effect on how real those characters feel to the reader. So if your main character feels that much realer to the reader, they're going to gravitate towards that character and feel what that character is going through. So that's about it. I want to thank everyone who has left a comment and subscribed and has liked my videos. The comments I get, I read them. They're very encouraging. To all of those who have left a comment, thank you. I very much appreciate the feedback. It really encourages me to make more of these videos and to continue to work on my own fiction. If you have the time, please check out the work of fiction. I'm an illustrated story called Terrible Immunity. It's at the website solomation.com, solomation.com. And again, please hit the like button. Vote to have me. You can vote to have me make more of these videos by subscribing, all that good stuff. I hope your writing goes really good, and have a good day.